Hi, and welcome to our breaking news segment here for Project Spurs. I'm your host, Joe Garcia, and I'm going to be joined by the one and only Michael De Leon of Project Spurs as we bring you some breaking news. Michael, earlier today we got word that LaMarcus Aldridge decided to go ahead and retire from the game. After 15 seasons in the NBA, the word was that he decided to go ahead and call it quits due to a heart condition that he had. And I knew that at one point in time, that became an issue here when he was playing with the San Antonio Spurs. I believe it was, maybe 2 seasons ago, Michael, that he missed some games due to that irregular heartbeat. Was that correct?
Yeah, I think the first time it was in Portland that he faced that, and then it was I want to say at least about 2 or 3 seasons ago, it was like an arrhythmia that he reported um, having. So that was I think you're right. It was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, and he missed some games because of that irregular heartbeat. And unfortunately, there was nothing that they could do for him other than just give him rest. But at this point in time, the irregular heartbeat he had was a little bit more than he had experienced I guess, ever since he had been dealing with this medical condition with the Brooklyn Nets. And unfortunately, I believe he just probably made the best call for himself and his family moving forward because he's going to want to be here for his kids. So I'm sure it was a tough decision. And he spent 6 seasons here with the San Antonio Spurs. And over that course in time, Spurs fans had a lot of things to say, both good and bad, about LaMarcus Aldridge and his tenure here with the San Antonio Spurs. But before we get into the stats, let's go ahead and look with his stats with the San Antonio Spurs. Let's look at his overall all-time stats. For his career, he's played in, I believe, 1,029 games. He's averaged over the course of his career 19.4 points per game. He's averaged 2 assists per game. His field goal shooting percentage was 49.1. Three-point shooting percentage is 32.1. His free throw shooting percentage, 81.1. So, I mean, they're not too bad of a number that I'm looking at there. Michael, I mean, you kind of surprised by looking at his all-time stats?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think you saw kind of a decline really in the past, few years. It wasn't always, where he's at right now. I mean, I think even going back a year ago, he was at 18.9, and then one of his best years in San Antonio was in 2017, 18. He had averaged, over 23 points per game. But, it's like they say, Father Time catches up with everybody. And so we started seeing a decline, especially with his usage rate going down a lot this year. So I just remember when he first was with Portland and then in his early years with San Antonio, he was putting up big numbers. So I'm not terribly surprised by that. When you look at his career versus his 2020, 2021, obviously there's like a stark difference there. But in the end, it's still a player that, did some big things while he was in the NBA.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted to read the statement that LaMarcus Aldridge did put out. I saw this on Twitter, of all places, when the news broke, which everybody else, I'm sure, sees it through Twitter as well. It's one of the social media platforms that breaks news quite often. I saw this on Sham Shernaya Twitter handle, and he put together a graphic, and basically it just says LaMarcus Aldridge was stating that, in my last game, he says, I played while dealing with an irregular heartbeat. Later on that night, my rhythm got even worse, which really worried me more. He said, the next morning, I told the team that what was going on, and they were, great about getting me to the hospital and getting me checked out. He goes, though I'm better now, what I felt with my heart that night was still one of the scariest things I've experienced. He goes on to say, with that being said, I've made the difficult decision to retire from the NBA. For 15 years, I've put basketball first. Now it's time to put my health and family first. He says, I'm thankful for everything this game has given me, the great memories, including all the ups and downs and the friendships I've made and will keep with me forever. As far as the friendships go, he puts, I thank Portland for drafting a skinny Texas kid and giving him a chance. The city of Portland has given me some unforgettable years. They will always remain in my heart. And he goes, I want to thank the Spurs for letting me into the family and giving me 5 fun years. Last but not least, I want to thank the Brooklyn Nets. He's saying you wanted me for me in a game that's changing so much. You asked me to come and just do what I do, which is good to hear. I'm sorry it didn't get to last long, but I've definitely had fun being part of this special group. He puts, you never know when something will come to an end, so make sure you enjoy it every day. And I can truly say that I did just that. And he signs off LaMarcus Aldridge. So I guess that 6th year with the San Antonio Spurs wasn't really fun then, Michael.
I know. I've seen a few people respond to this, and some people are taking it to the extreme. Oh, maybe things were worse than we thought. Maybe it was so bad that he just wanted to get out and retire. And it's just like, don't read too much into it. But yeah, I mean, he called them 5 fun years. He forgot about 1 year, I guess. And he kind of really, a lot of people are really, really into that whole "you wanted me for me" thing. But I'm just like, it's kind of, you never know, what's in a player's mind. And obviously, I'm sure he's a proud guy and, wanted to have that last chance at going for a championship and things like that. But, he did when he was with San Antonio. I mean, that was a big transition period, and I'm sure it wasn't easy at times. So, what can you say aside from kind of like thanking him for his time in San Antonio?
Yeah, you got to thank the guy for his time and what he was able to do for us while he was here with us. Even though the eye test for most Spurs fans, he from the eye test, it didn't perform up to standards, And I'm gonna be honest with you, I was one of those guys too. I'm like, what is he doing on the defensive end? He's kind of soft, but I got to tell you, man, after looking at the stats that he had with the San Antonio Spurs, I was a little surprised, Michael. It made me maybe eat some crow a little bit, So I'm going to go ahead and read off some of those stats. I'm going to let you get into it too. But our good friend over at the San Antonio Spurs, Jordan Haustein, he puts 15 per his Twitter account. He put 15 players in NBA history have 19 points, 19,000 points, 8,000 rebounds, and 1,000 blocks. Kareem, Duncan, Parrish, Dirk, Karl Malone, Garnett, Moses Malone, Hakeem, Elvin Hayes, Paul Gasol, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Bob Lanier, Shaq, and add to that list one LaMarcus Aldridge. That's some pretty esteemed company to be a part of, Michael.
Yeah, just look at those names. There's a lot of Hall of Famers on that list. There's actually a few former Spurs on that list as well, and it's just those names. That's not something to like turn your nose up at anything. That's you don't get that on accident in the NBA. You don't land in that kind of company by accident. So what he did, I think, is definitely something that should be highly regarded and kind of really puts him up in that echelon of big men that are on that list. I mean, anytime you're in company with Hakeem Olajuwon and Kareem and Duncan, obviously, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and start getting into some of the stats that he put up while he was here with the San Antonio Spurs. And these are per Basketball Reference. When you're looking at the San Antonio Spurs stats and you're looking at the leaderboards, it's just littered with the greats. Tim Duncan, you have Manu Ginobili, you have David Robinson, you have Tony Parker, George Gervin, all in this list. And you also have to include one LaMarcus Aldridge because surprisingly enough, he made the top 10 in some categories, one of them being field goals made for the San Antonio Spurs. At the top of the list was Tim Duncan with 10,285 field goals made throughout his career. LaMarcus Aldridge made the list at number 10, as I stated, with 2,913 field goals made. Kind of surprised me a little bit, but I mean, his mid-range game was always good, So I guess shouldn't be so surprising to me. The offensive rebounding category, not really known to crash the boards, when he doesn't pass the eye test for most Spurs fans. At the top of the list, leading the San Antonio Spurs for most offensive rebounds throughout their career was the one and only Tim Duncan. 3,859 offensive rebounds is what he's had throughout his career. LaMarcus Aldridge is on the list at number 8, and he's had 965 offensive rebounds for his career. What stat out of all these that I'm reading out at you, and there's probably going to be one or two you're going to bring up right now, what kind of surprised you the most?
I would say, I knew he could shoot, obviously, and like you said, he had that mid range. But I think the offensive rebounds, because I think the one biggest criticism of him while he was in San Antonio was that he was not a big rebounding, 4 or 5. That was always like the one like weaker part of his game compared to other people in that position. And you always, it was kind of like one of those where you'd expect maybe 6 to 8 a game, whereas some of the other bigs around the league, you're regularly looking at 10 to 12 a game. So he was not. So for him to be there at 8, and this is a list of. If you look at all the players on this list, I mean, Tim Duncan, David Robinson, George Gervin, these were like long time or like career long Spurs players. LaMarcus was here for 6 years and was able to get on this list and left his stamp. I think that says a lot about him and what he did while he was here. In 6 short years, he was able to really leave his stamp all over the place. Whereas many of the other people that take over this list or like, lifelong or career long Spurs players.
Yeah, another category that he was in the top 10 for the San Antonio Spurs was blocks. Number 1 was Tim Duncan, followed by David Robinson. Tim Duncan leads the San Antonio
here, right?
Spurs. Yeah, Tim Duncan's going to lead the Spurs in that category. He had 30,020 blocks for his career. David Robinson had 2,954. I'm reading everything wrong, Michael. I'm hungry, so I need to give me something to eat. It's been a long day. Tim Duncan had 3,020 blocks to lead the Spurs in that category for his career. Now, I come down the list and I see LaMarcus Aldridge at number 7, and he has 471 blocks for his career with the San Antonio Spurs. And another thing that was, I guess it's not too surprising, is LaMarcus Aldridge comes in at number 10 on the Spurs all-time leading, I guess on the board here for points scored throughout their career here with the San Antonio Spurs. Number 1 on that list is Tim Duncan, who scored 26,496 points throughout his career with the San Antonio Spurs. LaMarcus Aldridge comes in at number 10 at 7,325 points scored, for his career with the San Antonio Spurs. So that, I guess it shouldn't be too surprising because he was one of our better scorers. It's between him and DeMar DeRozan. Once we had the fake number 2 leave, and kind of throw a chink in everything here. Blocks per game too. LaMarcus Aldridge is number 10 on the Spurs all-time leaderboard there. Number 1 was George Johnson, coming in at 3.3 blocks per game. LaMarcus Aldridge makes the list at number 10 with 1.3 blocks per game. Just a hair, I guess he's behind, and maybe some type of percentage points behind Jakob Poeltl right now, who also has 1.3. Player efficiency rating, Michael. Yeah. This is the surprising one. That's what I'm saying. When he was here with the San Antonio Spurs for 6 seasons, he didn't really pass what we call the eye test for most Spurs fans. He was getting called out left and right for his, poor defensive play. And then at times he was being called soft because he's one of the biggest guys out there on the court and didn't really impose his will inside the paint to the liking of Spurs fans. Because we're used to people like David Robinson, like Tim Duncan, being able to just enforce their will in the paint. LaMarcus Aldridge was never that guy. But the player efficiency rating says a different story, Michael. Number 1 in player efficiency rating for the San Antonio Spurs. At the top of the list is David Robinson, leading that, the pack with 26.2. LaMarcus Aldridge, his player efficiency rating is good enough for 5th all time with the San Antonio Spurs at 21.6. That's surprising, man.
Yeah, and really, it kind of flies in the face of what everybody has kind of said about him. And I'm not here to like sugarcoat anything. Obviously, there was a lot of seriousness in what happened in him retiring and what's going on. But I mean, I'll tell you what honestly, and when reviewing where he was at, but I think that was one of the obvious big criticisms against him is that he just wasn't efficient and he didn't fit with the offense. But obviously he did for a long time because 21.6 when you're ahead of Demar, Manu, and there's actually a name I've never heard of on there since then as Powell, but um, another surprising thing. But for him to be up that high, it kind of tells you or paints a different picture than I think we're used to hearing. And so, uh, just going back and reviewing these things, I mean, it just kind of shows you, exactly what the story was and not maybe the narrative that we're used to telling or hearing.
Yeah, that is true. But, and just going down the list too, not not for the just for the Spurs, but all time, through his career here with in the NBA, he had 7 All-Star game appearances. He was also, I believe, got some nods for MVP. He got 3 MVP award shares throughout his career. So he was in the mix, there from time to time. His name would come up for MVP, I believe, of the league. Of course, you need to get a plethora of votes to get that esteemed award, but he didn't get the number of votes needed, of course, but his name was thrown in there from time to time. He spent 6 seasons in the top 20 when it came to total rebounds. Rebounds per game, he spent 6 seasons in the top 20. Offensive rebounds per game, 6 seasons in the top 20. Defensive rebounds, 3 seasons in the top 20. And the same thing goes for blocks per game. He was 3 seasons in the top 20. Field goal percentage, 2 seasons in the top 20. Field goal attempts, 9 seasons in the top 20. And field goals made, 9 seasons in the top 20. He had a pretty decent career, 15 seasons in the NBA. You think he's going to go down as an NBA Hall of Famer, Michael?
It seems like it's getting tougher and tougher to put somebody there, but with some of the names I've seen, I mean, I think that'll be a tough decision for whoever's voting him there. But I mean, he seems to be like right on the edge of kind of what you would consider and his career, and obviously think the whole never winning a ring probably doesn't help his case any. But if you look at actually what he did, on the court over the entirety of his career, then you can certainly make a case.
Yeah, so I guess at this juncture, the only thing that we as Spurs fans can do is just say, thank you for your time here with the team. Unfortunately, he was never able to get a chip, and the season that he was, let's say, gonna maybe have that opportunity, it all came to a crashing end because of one Zaza Pachulia.
I know we can never forget that.
Yeah, the man who stopped LMA's possible, opportunity to win a chip here with the Spurs was none other than Zaza Pachulia. So let that sink in for you. Everything was clicking until Kawhi came down on the foot of one Zaza, and that's all she wrote. That was as close as we were going to get for I don't know how many more years, Michael, but I'm willing to bet that it might be another season or two before we return to the promised land.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and in closing here, we also have our good friend Paul Garcia, who is the host of the Spurs Cast. And they're going to be talking about LaMarcus Aldridge on the Spurs Cast as they get ready to record the latest episode later on today. Is that correct, Michael?
Yeah, they'll be recording later today, and it'll be out tomorrow, probably tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, there you go. So make sure you go and check that episode of the Spurs Cast out with our good friend Paul Garcia. So in closing here, Michael, anything you'd like to say in regards to one LaMarcus Aldridge?
I just wish him the best of health, really, and that I think he absolutely made the right move. I mean, I've dealt with heart issues, and it's incredibly scary stuff, and something that you do not want to take lightly, especially when you have irregular rhythms and things like that. So I'm glad he called it quits. It's unfortunate that his stint that could have given him a chance at a championship only lasted 5 games, but I think there's a lot more important things to do, and there's a lot more important memories to make with his family than putting his life at risk. But so just hoping for good health.
Yeah, same here. I hope he finds happiness, in the second part of his journey on this big wheel that we have here called life. That he finds happiness with his family and his children, and he just has a good life, and just enjoy times, because life is short. Make the most of what you got, and make sure that you don't waste a minute. So kind of puts things in perspective. There's much more things that are much more important than just basketball, and it is family and friends. So I wish him well. Thank him for his time here with the San Antonio Spurs. So that's about all the time we have for our breaking news segment here for Project Spurs. So for Michael A. De Leon, I'm Joe Garcia, and thank you for watching this breaking news segment. And go Spurs go. We'll talk to you guys later.